So today I'm going to be talking about my experience at Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within virtual event this past weekend. It was actually a 4-day event, and I'm going to share with you some of my notes in the hopes that it can help improve your life. So one of the main points that Tony drives home is, where is your emotional home? Meaning, where do you usually reside in terms of emotions? He actually has you get out a pen and paper and write out, what are my top 3 most negative emotions? Excuse me. First, he has you get clear on how many emotions do you experience each week. For most people, I'd say 90% of the room, they experience the same 6 emotions throughout the week. For some, it's depression and anger. For others, it's love and joy. But he has you write out what your 2 to 3 most negative emotions that you chronically experience are, and what your 2 to 3 most positive, empowering emotions that you chronically, or not chronically, but you habitually experience are. So with that said, he has you get crystal clear on how you're causing yourself to be in those emotional states. For instance, my 2 main negative emotions were depression and anger. I would see something that would trigger me. In this case, I would see somebody who's experiencing a higher degree of success than me. I don't mean in terms of finances. It's interesting. I would see somebody, for instance, on TikTok who has a larger audience than me and who only made, let's say, a few videos, and it would upset me, and I'd say, oh man, what am I doing spending all this time and energy trying to grow this when somebody just posts a video, of something silly, and suddenly they get 10 million views. And so it would cause me to get depressed. So I recognize I'm triggering myself by doing that. Instead of celebrating somebody's success, I was causing myself to get triggered, and I would retreat within my shell. So once I got clear on what my negative emotions were, I got clear on what the opposite empowering states would be. So the opposite of depression would be joy. And usually I fluctuate between that scale. Either I'm in a depressed or angry state, or I'm in a real joyful, empowered state, believing that I can take massive action and create whatever life I want. So for me, there was a consistent thing that I would do. I would close my blinds and I would lay down on my bed, and then I would either read some comic books on my phone or I would take a nap, and it would put me in this really depressed state. So once I realized what I was doing, I realized I need to break that pattern. So I would use my body. I think what I would previously think. Then I'd use my body the way I was using it before, and then I would snap out of it and tell myself that's total bullshit. The truth is I can create the life I want, and I would put myself into this empowered state, and you can do the same for you. So what I want you to do is, if you're watching this or listening to it on my podcast, write out, what are my 2 most disempowering emotions? These are 2 emotions that you've experienced during the last week. And then I want you to write out, what are the 2 most empowering emotions that I've experienced during the last week? And I want you to see how you created both of those states for yourself. And if you're listening, well, however you're listening to this, I would pause this recording and I would put myself into the negative state and see what it feels like. It's not going to feel good. See what you do with your body. For you to be in a negative state, you have to be doing 3 things. First, you have to be using your physiology in a negative fashion. For example, how does a depressed person stand? Do they stand with their chest out, shoulders back, head up? No, they're standing with their chest slightly concaved, meaning that their chest is in, their shoulders are forward, they're hunched over, and their head is down. And typically their gaze, is it up or down? It's down. They're looking at the floor. So you want to use your physiology in a way that serves you. Stick your chest out, your shoulders back, look up, and you can also smile. Smiling lets your brain know that everything's okay. It pumps endorphins into your system. You feel better when you smile. So what I would recommend doing is put yourself in the negative state, see what it feels like, and then snap out of it. So you break that pattern and stick your chest out and have an affirmation for yourself. For instance, I can do whatever I can accomplish whatever I want, or my life is great, or I'm the best, whatever it is for you. But I would practice this empowered state. At least do it 5 to 10 times so you see what it's like. I would do both, actually. Put yourself in the negative state and then smash out of it so that you see how you're creating both for yourself. And the beauty behind that is you can create an empowered state practically at will by using your physiology. And the second thing is your focus. What are you focused on? when you're in a negative state versus a positive one. When I was in a negative state, I was focusing on somebody else's success instead of looking at my own. And when I'm in an empowered state, I focus on what I can do, what I'm able to provide to others. And if I see somebody else's success when I'm in an empowered state, it actually fuels me. It makes me want to do more because I know that's what's positive for me. Lastly, language. What words are you saying to yourself when you're in a negative state versus a positive one? For example, when I was in a negative state, not just language, but also how are you speaking? I was speaking a real soft voice and say some really depressing things about how frustrated I was. Whereas when I'm in an empowered state, such as now, I speak louder, I speak faster, and I tend to tell myself how things are going to work out or how they are working out. So be aware of what you're doing with your physiology, your focus, and your language. Now, another thing that Tony Robbins had us do is he had us look at he talks about the 6 major needs that everyone has. The need for certainty, the need for uncertainty, the need for significance, contribution, growth, and connection. And I'll cover those. For instance, everybody needs a certain degree of certainty. You want to know that tomorrow when you wake up, things are going to be okay. And everyone needs a certain degree of uncertainty. If you do the same thing every day for the rest of your life, it's going to get boring. And everyone wants to feel somewhat significant, that they matter. And if you're a good person, you want to contribute because as you contribute to others, their lives improve and it makes you feel good. And you want to grow. You don't want to stay stagnant because there's a rule of life that either you're growing or you're dying. If you think you're staying still, you're actually dying because everything's moving forward. And lastly, he talks about love and connection. Now, a few years back when I was doing really well, my 2 main needs were uncertainty, I enjoyed variety, and growth. And then after that, I would say contribution and connection. I was really serious about making a difference, and I still am, in people's lives. And I was single and I was dating and I was having my connections need with my uncertainty need came together powerfully because I wanted to meet people. So it was fantastic. So I was constantly meeting beautiful women everywhere I'd go. Then I moved to San Diego. A few things took a turn for the worse in terms of my finances. And so my needs changed. My needs shifted to certainty and significance. I felt insignificant, maybe not insignificant, but less significant, I should say, because I wasn't earning as much. And since I wasn't earning as much, everything was up in the air. And so I felt really uncertain about my future. And so my needs changed, but they didn't change in a good way. So what happened was if your primary need is one for certainty, and you see a attractive woman when you're out, are you more likely or less likely to approach her? Obviously, you're less likely. So my dating life plummeted in response to what was going on with my life. So once I saw how I had made that mistake and incorrectly adjusted my needs, I shifted them to something much healthier and I immediately started seeing results. It's only been the weekend, but I've already met people and good things are happening. So it's important to be aware of what your needs are. Do you value certainty and significance more? Do you value uncertainty and contribution? Do you value growth and connection? Tony talks about how if you value certainty and significance, it's always going to lead to headache and frustration because, nothing is that certain in life. The only thing that's certain is that there's uncertainty. So you're going to constantly feel at ease. And if you value significance over, let's say, contribution, you're going to constantly be looking for validation from others instead of focusing on what you can give to others. So be aware of what your needs are. Next, one important point that he made was he spoke about modeling repeatedly. How you want to model somebody who's playing at a much higher level than you are. And he spoke about if you model somebody who, let's say, is getting good results. He said they're doing that full time and they're only getting good results. He said if you model somebody who's good, you're going to get poor results because they're doing that full time. You're doing it part time, so your results aren't going to be the same that they're getting. He said if you model somebody who is excellent, he said you're most likely going to get good results. They're excellent in doing that full time. If you copy them, you're probably going to get good results. He said he recommended modeling somebody who's outstanding. And as a result, you'll get excellent results or outstanding results. And I recommend that too. When I wanted to learn about dating and pickup and all that stuff, I modeled 2 people. One was my friend John G, who was the biggest playboy in the world. And then I also modeled this dating coach that I knew. and my results skyrocketed. When I was in sales, I modeled Grant Cardone. I would listen to his sales tracks all day long. And as a result, my sales skyrocketed. And at one point, I had the highest closing percentage in Southern California for my company. So it's important to be aware of who are you modeling. If you think you're not modeling somebody, you are. You have somebody's pattern from when you were a child that you're most likely unconsciously modeling, or you have some type of pattern that you taught yourself that you're just doing over and over again. And if it's not serving you, I would highly recommend seeking out somebody who's operating or playing at a higher level than you are, modeling their behavior, modeling their thought process, and getting their results. Another takeaway that I had from the event was how important energy is. A lot of us are conditioning ourselves to be in a low state of energy throughout the day. Something happens, you speak to a friend about some gossip, you watch the news and you keep putting yourself in a low state over and over and over again. Don't do that. In the morning when you wake up, how do you wake up? The first thing I do now, I smile. I let my body know and my mind know, hey, everything's okay. It's going to be a great day. And then I do Tony Robbins. There's a video, I believe it's called Tony Robbins Priming. You can just type that in on YouTube. And it's a 15-minute process where he'll put you in a really good state of mind to start your day. So be aware of how you start your day. Your morning is essentially the springboard for the rest of your day. So you want to start it in a really positive, optimistic state, in a state of certainty and also gratitude. The priming process he has will walk you through, but the main thing is how are you conditioning yourself as you go through your day? I'm also now ending the day with, if you type in Tony Robbins Emotional Flood, it's a great process where he has you feel all these positive emotions before you go to sleep. So it's a great way to end your day. And I'm playing positive music throughout the day as well as my affirmations and my normal daily practice. So I feel much more confident, certain and assertive to go out and create the life I want. Also, I realized that I have much more energy. His event was on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. So it started for me at 4 a.m. and it would end about 4 p.m., sometimes after. And I was able to attend the event feeling strong, and I realized I have way more energy than I realized. So you can do a lot more than you think. The main thing is to put yourself in these peak states over and over, so that's where you're operating from. So you have the energy to create the life you want, to create the relationships you want, to create the results you want. He also spoke about the need for constant conditioning. One weekend event isn't enough. Just as you wouldn't go to the gym and work out really hard over a weekend and think you're set for the rest of your life, you need to constantly condition yourself. Put yourself in peak states. Read things of an inspirational nature. Go to immersive events such as his Unleash the Power Within and spend 4 days secluded, so to speak, from your normal life where you're just bombarded with positive messages, positive energy, positive people. And as a result, you're going to get massive gains in a really short time. He also spoke about certainty versus hope. When someone's feeling hopeful, let's say you're feeling hopeful right now, how do you stand? You probably stand kind of sure of yourself. Like, yeah, I hope it works out. Now, if I told you to feel certain, you know it's going to work out, how are you going to stand? For 90-something% of you that are watching, listening to this, your chest is going to stick out, your spine is going to be erect, you're going to feel strong in your body. So the point I want to make or drive home with this is forget hope. Put yourself into states of certainty. Certainty is where you want to live. Hope is good. It's better than negativity. However, to me, it's not enough. You want to put yourself in a state of certainty every day so that you know you can make a difference. You can go out and accomplish what it is you want. And lastly, he brought in a number of great speakers. I want to just recommend one of them. He's a man by the name of Master Co. I put up one of his exercises on my TikTok. You can find him on Instagram if you type in Master and then CO. He does all these great visualizations. He does all this energy work if you're into that. He's somebody that I highly recommend checking out. The guy's energy and vibration and consciousness is on another level. So I would recommend checking him out. And in closing, if you're on the fence as to whether you should do an Unleash the Power Within event, or if you shouldn't, I recommend it. It's 4 days. You're worth it. It's a real minimal cost to have Tony Robbins coaching you for 4 days. The event for 4 days, it went on about 50 hours. So you're spending next to nothing for 4 days of awesome coaching in an incredible environment, and you're going to get results.